SWR FM 99.9 is Mr. Joe Avati on air.
Hi, mate. How are you?
Good, mate. How are you?
I'm all right.
I thought
I'm freezing. I'm freezing, mate. You will not believe it. I'm freezing.
What?
I mean, it's you know, are we in the northern hemisphere or the southern hemisphere? I've got a winter jacket on. I live in Melbourne, by the way, in case anyone's wondering what the hell I'm talking about. I've got a winter jacket on that I bought in Canada when I was on tour there for the tours over there. And as you know, it gets really cold over there. It gets minus 20. So that's how cold it is in Melbourne on November, end of November. It's ridiculous.
Well, guess what, mate? It's been a bloody 40 degrees here. Oh man!
Yeah.
I tell you, how different is that? Listen, before we go on, I want to say something, and if you don't agree with me after the minute or so, I'm going to say it. I want you to tell me. This goes back into the 1980s, ladies and gentlemen. I was on a station called 2RDJ FM 88.1, and I was doing an Italian show with a gentleman called Peter Ciani, Evening Rendezvous, and then I also did a show called Hit Mix on that station. And then what actually happened, there was a lot of politics in the air, and there was these two guys. A guy called DJ Leno was doing Italian dance, and he said, Dominic, I want to get this show on air, and we're going to do anything to try to get on air. I've got a really funny guy called Joe Avati, and we want to do a show called La Dolce Vita. Is this true, Joe?
Yeah, that's right. Dolce Vita was the name of my first album, and it's right. Yeah, there was a show called La Dolce Vita on 2RDJ for a couple of years actually.
And listen, it all happened, didn't it? It all happened from there. You did a couple of skits on the Footy Show. How the hell did you get away with that?
Oh well, they wanted me on. I got on, you know. But,
no, I saw you, mate. You were funny.
Come a long way since then,
mate. You're one of the biggest around town. Have a listen to this one, folks. There's a couple of things I'm going to tell you because he won't tell you about them. New York Cool City comedian Joe Avati is selling out CDs, 80,000 copies and counting, and his live shows selling out in a mere 9 minutes. In New York town. Is that true or not, Joe?
Yeah, and in Toronto as well.
Yeah.
I was very fortunate to have the North American ethnic community, or the WOGs over there, basically, embrace my work. And it happened in 2000, 2001, and it just sort of happened by, they sort of say an overnight sensation, but it took about 2 or 3 months. And it just took off. It just took off like crazy over there, and I've been touring ever since.
Yeah, mate, you're a big act now, mate. And I tell you what, I've noticed one thing's changed with your act. When I first saw the first couple of CDs, you were coming on stage with this daggy old suit, you see. And I said, mate, he's still not making any money. Now I've seen some of the later CDs, mate, and it's got the gold lining and everything, mate. So there's some money in it for you now. See, I can make a joke too, mate.
You're funnier than me tonight, mate. I'm actually a lot of people go, sometimes I do these interviews and people ask me serious questions and I'm answering them in a serious way because there's a lot of serious stuff about being a comedian. But then I go, hang on a minute, I've got to be funny here. I've got to be funny. Yeah. I forget to be funny because I spend so much time, on stage being funny. So, but, yeah, mate, no, things have changed. It's 20 years now that I've been doing this, and so it's been good. It's been good to me. It's changed in a lot of ways, not just financially, but also in respect to into the experiences that I've had to be able to travel around the world. Because I do a lot of work in England, all over the UK, all over America, as you just said, and all Canada, and of course, I've been in every single city and little town in Australia where there's Italians, from far up in Queensland, Mareeba, down to Tasmania, from Sydney all the way to Bunbury and in Perth. And I've been fortunate for that. And a lot of people have no idea, mate. There's a lot of people have no idea that there's so many Italians in Australia. And I thought, well, the English colonised, the English sent over their prisoners. So somebody had to build the prison, Dominic. You understand?
No.
That's why there's so many Italians in Australia.
But one thing that I've got to give you credit for, look, there's probably the only one before you was, of course, Vince Sereni. He's still around. But to tell you what, you really broke the ice, didn't you? Like, like Vince started it there, but you really went a little bit further than Vince. And one thing I do admire you for. Now, I don't want to bring both of you into the discussion, but what I do admire you for, that every time I see you on stage, you don't swear. That's pretty amazing to me, and you still get people to actually to laugh. So tell me about that.
Yeah, look. Well, firstly, let me tell you, Vince and I are good mates. And this is the funny thing about Vince and I. His parents and my grandparents are from exactly the same village in Italy. Not the same area, not the same state, not the same region. The same village. It's like saying, that you and I are from Liverpool, or even like a suburb, like a smaller suburb, like a Stanmore or an Annandale. So imagine that his parents and our parents they were neighbours. That's we often sit down and laugh about that because we do share relatives, believe it or not. I don't know. It must be something about the water in that town.
It creates comedians.
Yeah, but going back to what you were saying, I like to, I'm sometimes on stage for an hour and a half, and I like to work clean. I don't know, it's just my thing. I always say, if I had my family in the audience, or my grandparents, would they get offended with what I was about to say? Would they get offended with my language? They would, I won't do it. So, and then I thought, well, I don't need to swear. I can do comedy without swearing. And you've got to be careful. You know what, Dom? You've got to actually be careful how you market that, because sometimes people think, oh my God, it's just like a daggy sort of comedian, not swearing. It's not, I still think that I'm, sort of cutting edge and on the edge a little bit. I like to push the envelope wherever I can, but without offending, So I don't talk about sex, drugs, religion, or politics. And some people might think that's, necessarily boring, but you know what? You come and see the show and you'll see an hour and a half without any of that discussion, and, people are still laughing. So there's a lot. It's about family. It's just about...
I defy anybody that comes to your shows, whether they're English speaking or whether they're Italian speaking, Greek speaking. I defy any of them. Are you making a cappuccino or something, are you, mate?
No. I'm in the car.
I thought you might be making a short black to wake up or something like that.
No. I just got a loud car.
Yeah. And all you do is show those emotions and tell them your stories, mate. And people are laughing in the aisle. So I really admire you. A couple of things I want to ask you. Tell me about the Magnum project.
Right. Well, I'm actually a food scientist by profession.
Right.
And so one of my first
is that for real or is that a joke? Now, just tell me the truth.
No, that's for real. That's for real. I'm actually a food scientist by profession, Dom, and so one of my first jobs out of university was working at street ice cream, and I just happened to land be in the team that developed the Magnum in Australia. And so that was really interesting. And so there's a lot of women with my face on dartboards because of it.
And a little bit heavier for it.
Yeah. Some women say, I hate you. Well, what do I do? You're the guy that developed the Magnum. Yeah, well.
Yeah. Listen, tell me about your TV show, the Food Investigators.
Yeah, well, that was a spin-off of that. So basically, the producers of that show, they wanted somebody who had a lot of food background, but also someone who was a comedian, to sort of give a bit of a light-hearted presentation. So they Googled food science and comedian, and I'm the only one who came up because I'm the only food science comedian, whatever you want to call it.
So did you enjoy it? Did you enjoy the TV stint?
I loved it. I thought it was a great show. It was a pity that they didn't continue it. I don't know exactly why. I have a suspicion that perhaps the producers and the TV station sort of had a bit of a falling out because it was getting great ratings and it was competing against MasterChef at the same time too. So, but it was getting very good ratings for SBS. And so, but that show actually got bought and syndicated in 43 different countries around the world. And sometimes I'm traveling around Europe and I see people pointing and staring, and I'm looking at them and going, they don't look like the kind of people that come to my show. And then they'll come up and they go, you're the guy from the food show, And it's really interesting how that show managed to travel all over the world.
Listen, tell me how you got this weird idea when you were young and saying to yourself, now what am I going to do with my life? And I was a food technologist. Now, that's not a bad job, man. That's pretty well paid, to be perfectly truthful. There's one of my daughter-in-laws is one of those, and she's well paid. So I don't think you weren't making money. But what got you into the comedy?
Well, I always wanted to be a rock star, Dom. I always wanted to be a pop star, you know. And that was never going to happen. Mate, that was never going to happen, not with my voice, and not with an Italian dad. I actually said to my dad, I want to be a rock star. He goes, no, people from where we come from are not rock stars. You know, so he goes, go get a degree and do whatever you want. And so
yeah, go on.
I went and got a science degree, and then I won a scholarship to study honours. And while I was studying my honours degree, there was a lot of time in between experiments. And whilst I had all this time, the university, because I won a scholarship, they gave me my own office. So while I was waiting for these experiments to happen, what happened was that I developed I had a lot of time to develop gags and stuff, right? So yeah, and so. I developed a lot of. I just had someone just drive past. You're probably going, "Why is he stopping?" I had someone drive past. How you going, Joe? Can you talk? I said, "I can't, man. I'm on the radio." So I had a lot of time to develop gags, and I thought, well, you know what? I can't become famous as a rock star because I just don't have the voice. Right?
I don't know. You're not bad when you're singing those little guitar songs on stage, mate.
Yeah, not bad, but not rock star status. And if you look at my hair, and especially if you look at it now,
especially the Youth and Indie one,
there's no way I would have been able to be a rock star back then, not with my hair, because I don't have much. Right, so that ruled it out. But I thought, you know what? You don't have to have a good voice, and you don't have to have rock star hair to be a comedian. And I started rehearsing and practicing in my office. And I went to the comedy store there in Leichhardt at the time. It was on the corner of Parramatta Road and Crystal Street, if you remember.
Yeah, that's all lined with apartments now, mate. They're worth a bloody fortune.
Yeah, and pokies.
And pokies, yep. That's right.
Yeah. So basically, then I just started trying out when I was at university. I was, making my friends laugh, and I went from there. And then I had an idea to do a one-man show about being Italian, and that took off around Australia in 99, 2000. And then shortly after, I went on to Napstar, and then from Napstar, I took it around the world, and, here we are, been touring ever since,
I see that New York Cool, the interview says here, it says, you have been called the Australian Italian Seinfeld. Why do you get this title, Joe? That's not my question, that's New York Cool's.
Oh, why? That's their question, yeah. Well, at the time, no one could really sort of pigeonhole me. They go, well, what is he,
What is he?
What does he do, What is it? It's the Italian version of Seinfeld. Like, he talks about being a wog, but in a Seinfeld way, in a Bill Cosby way, in a sort of very observational type of humour way, I suppose. And so that's, I guess, I don't think though, Dom. I don't think that they're calling him the New York Joe Avati. I don't think so, for some reason.
Listen, Las Vegas. What do you think of that? You had a few shows there, I believe.
Oh yeah, I did shows in Vegas very early on. Look, Las Vegas at the time was a place that entertainers used to go to die. But like to the rest of the world, it was a big thing. And then they've really changed Las Vegas in the last 10 years. So now, people like Celine Dion being there.
Yeah, well, she's got her own. She's got her own show there, hasn't she? She's built the place completely. I
don't actually think I'd enjoy that because you have to do pretty much 7 shows in 6 days.
Wow.
Right? And that's pretty much most of the year round. And so, I don't know. Yeah.
So since I met you as a young little kid about all those 20-something years ago, have you got yourself married or anything like that, or what?
No, I don't. No,
with a nice Italiano girl, or what?
No, I've been single now for 9 years. I just decided 9 years ago that wasn't for me. I would stay I would stay single. Just much easier for me because I just travel a lot. I spend a lot of time. I do have a daughter though. I do have a 2-year-old in North America. I decided that I would just I'm happy on my own. I'm 41 now. I'm happy on my own. I'm pretty comfortable on my own. So yeah. I'm happy.
And why Melbourne? Is it you just like Melbourne better?
I just love Melbourne. I've always had a love affair with Melbourne. Every time I would come here, I'd get very excited. Every time I'd leave, I'd be still sad. And that honeymoon period never went away. I always loved it. And now I love Sydney, don't get me wrong. It's my hometown. I love Sydney, but in a very different way. I enjoy coming to Sydney almost like I enjoy going to Paris. I go there, I go for or even New York. I can go there, go for a holiday, enjoy it. But then Melbourne feels like home. I'm building a big home here now. Home, not necessarily that big, but just a home. For some people it is.
Enough for the spaghetti and all the nonnas and the nunnas and all of them to be there, and the brothers and the sisters.
I'm not really a beach bum. So I'm more into people in cafes, and Melbourne's perfect for that. And, I did get voted the world's most livable city. And, look, for me, it's great. A lot of people from Sydney also love Melbourne, but they didn't have to get back home to Sydney. And a lot of people from Melbourne love Sydney, but vice versa. And, instead of, I also do have a home in Sydney. When I come up there, and all my family's up there, of course. So.
And I must ask the question: how's your brother these days?
He's fantastic. Well, yeah, he's had his ups and downs, but you know what? He's definitely a fighter, and let me put it this way: he's an inspiration.
He certainly is, mate. He always inspired me when I was on tour, RDJ. He was an amazing person. An absolutely amazing person. And I'll tell you what, I've got to take my hat off to you, mate. I mean, from what you started, and as we're talking about 20-something years ago now, and what you are today,
mate. 20 years ago, actually. This year is 20 years ago. So I'm 20 years ago. Well, we started doing La Dolce Vita, I would say around about 96, maybe, around about 96, something like that, yeah.
And you know what amazed me about that show, Joe? That what took us so hard, it took me, Peter, and a few other people, because I was on programming at the time, and I worked hard to get that show on air with Lenny, and he was always, driving me crazy. But I tell you what, after 2 weeks, it was so popular, man. I mean, the bloody lights wouldn't go off. I mean, you'd be picking up the phones all the time. People would be driving you crazy.
It was really funny because you couldn't really hear it because of the signal. But we had people in Manly. They used to say that for that hour or the 2 hours. I can't remember if it was an hour or 2 hours that we're on. They used to hold the radio up in a certain part of the house just so they could get the reception.
They were the days, mate. I tell you, that was just one of those things that it all happened then. And Italian techno was there. Every club in town,
that's right.
Were playing of course, I was doing a lot of the clubs at the time, and boy, Italian dance was so big, and it was all happening, wasn't it? Like the WOG scene was great, mate. It was never better.
It's still very strong now, Dom. I'm very fortunate that the shows sell out pretty much, wherever we're going. And that's just on Facebook now. People follow it on Facebook or Twitter, Instagram, and we just go like that. And it's very, very strong. I mean, this weekend, I'm doing 2 shows here, and they're all sold out. And they're all sold out on Facebook.
Yeah.
And that's just on the back of, and it's not like a new show or anything. It's just the greatest hits sort of a show. So these are the best of the old, best of the new. So people are still wanting to hear the gags, and they really want. And there's 2 or 3 of these shows going around at the same time, and they're all selling out. So that just really goes to show you that there's another show called Wild Wogs, which is a lot of my friends are in, which is at the St. John's Park Bowling Club in a couple of weeks' time, with George Capagnaris and Gabriel Rossi.
And how did you get together? How did you get together with those guys, mate? You're fantastic when you're all 3 years together. Just such a funny show.
Look, you know what I thought? It came a certain point in my career where I thought, I've got to do something different, and I wanted to diversify. So firstly, I teamed up with the guys from Acropolis now, George Capagnaris and Simon Palomares, and geez, they taught me a lot. They were such professional acts and such great guys. And we toured with a show called Il Dago for about 2 years.
Yeah, I went and saw that one, mate. You even signed my copy, mate. I've still got it.
Oh, right, there you go. And that show actually won an award for the best comedy show of 2007-2008 around the country. So I'm really proud of that one. And then we went and did our own solo shows. Then we came back with Il Dago 2. Then I teamed up with the guys from Fat Pizza, so Tahir and Rob Shahady, who've got a show. They've just produced a show called Here Come the Habibs, which is going to be on Channel 9, which is a big thing, which goes to show you...
times are changing.
Goes to show you that Channel 9 to invest in a show called Here Come the Habibs is massive. That just gives you an idea that they're finally commercial television.
Yep, cracked
has realised that, this is not a minority group anymore. This is not a small market. I mean, look, in terms of my show around the world, as an Australian comedian, I'm probably in the top 10 exports. And I just do ethnic comedy. So that just goes to show you that that's not a small.
That was my next question, Joe. World tour. Tell me about it.
The world tour's been going on. You know what? It just seems like I haven't stopped, to be honest, because by the time I finish Australia, then I do Canada, then it's time to do America again, and then England, and then I go back to Australia and because we do so many shows in Australia, we go back again, and it's just. By the time we finish, it just keeps on going, and then we just change the poster, change the name of it, and the world tour keeps going. This year I performed in Canada, I performed in America, and I performed in Australia. Next year it'll be Canada again, America again, because we didn't have time to finish it off this time, and then the following year will be England.
I was going to say, how are you going to go? You're going to give England a go?
Yeah, I know. Well, I've toured England 5 times.
Oh, right.
4 times, sorry.
So it is world tour, mate. That's for certain, because you're into everybody.
Yeah, yeah. And my next step is Italy.
Oh,
that was the plan for next year.
That one's going to be bloody hard. That one, mate. I don't know if they'll take that. Listen, they're going to find a way of trying to get into your show and not paying a cent. Now, that's what's going to happen. There's going to be some way how they're going to give the nonnas and the nunnas, and everybody's going to give something to get into the Joe Avati show for nothing.
Well, I never thought of it before of doing shows in Italy, but, there's an influx of Italians now, right, coming into Australia. And they all say to me, people know you, you're really popular in Italy, you've got a lot of fans, you should do shows there. I had no idea. No idea whatsoever until, probably about 6-7 months ago. So it's going to be really interesting.
You're going to knock them dead, mate. That's going to be a lay down misère for you, mate. I tell you, when they get the old people, they love what you do, mate. And I'm not that old yet, but I have pushed the 60, and I tell you, everything you talk about is just so on par to what it was all about. And then tell you, and even today, things have changed, and like you say, with mobile phones, but it's all true. Everything you say about it is 100% true, and it just can't get you. You got to laugh.
It's not just oldies that come to the show. There's a lot of kids that come to the show.
Well, my kids love your shows, mate. They come to they understand, say, a half of it, but it doesn't matter. They're laughing in the aisles, and when they do come to them, they can't believe how good they are.
The thing is that these days, because of the shows that I did with the guys from Acropolis Now and Fat Pizza, most of my shows in English.
Yep.
Right, so there's not just Italians that come, and I'm getting 8-year-olds coming to the show, 10-year-olds, 12-year-olds, 14-year-olds.
A couple of those guys, I was going to tell you, my son Darren got married at La Montage. Yes, it was. It was Montage that's the one at Piedmont. Yeah, I figured it is. Yeah, right. The guys did a couple of those guys did the show. Actually Darren got them to do his wedding for him. So, and we didn't even know it was happening, mate, to be perfectly terrific. But he knew I loved the guys, and obviously you weren't in town, because I always kept on saying, geez, it'd be nice to have Joe Avati here tonight. And a couple of them turned up, so it must have been one of those times where you weren't around and you didn't know what was happening. But it wouldn't matter, but I'm just saying a couple of them did the shows, and they were just as funny, mate. They were a fantastic night. It was.
They're great guys. Yeah, great guys.
So world tour just keeps on going on, mate. That's it. So other than that, I'm not going to ask you what's next, because it just keeps on going.
Yeah, well, what's next is a 20th anniversary DVD, which we're recording early next year, and I do a lot of corporate work. So the first half of next year is full of corporate, and I'm finished because I've decided just to take a little bit of time off from the touring in the first half of next year, because I'm finishing off my house, and it's important that I'm there for that. And it's a big project. and so I want to make sure that I'm there to oversee it all. And then we start touring again. So it's the 20th anniversary tour, starting probably from July next year, I'd say.
Yeah, and I'd say that Joe Avati is just going to keep on keeping on. You know, he's going to go on stage with his barchetta or something in the 20 or 30 years. He's not going to stop, is he?
Yeah, I don't know. I will see. I'm really enjoying building a house at the moment.
Oh, get into project management, mate. Project management.
Yeah, I might be one of them, yeah.
Get away from food technology. My son's a project manager, mate. We're with a big company, and he does pretty well. But I tell you what, there's a bit of money in it if you want to get into project management.
Oh, I love it, mate. I really enjoy it. It's a great process.
All right, Joe, listen, I just want to thank you very, very much for coming on
here.
Thank you,
Dom, and thank you for getting in touch with us. And you know what, it's been an absolute pleasure, and it's great to speak to you and go take a trip down memory lane. And you know what, it's good to go back to where it all started.
Yeah, and I tell you what, it was an exciting trip. People don't realise those days. It was so hard in those days getting out of that rut, and people just, you know, the wog mentality and everything like that. But when it started happening, it was a skyrocket thing, wasn't it? It just kept on going.
Yeah.
And you got onto the bandwagon. You deserve every bit you get, Joe. And you're the best, mate. You really are. I don't think there's anybody better. All right.
You're a sweetheart, mate. Thank you very much.
Thank you, mate. I appreciate it. And as I said, thank you very much for being on SWR FM 99.9.